Peace and many bright blessings, guys. It's Medina, your Queen of Spades, coming at you today. So, I've been going on live for the past couple of days, just trying to, do a couple of readings on a couple of different subject matters at hand. And for some reason, things are not like really working out for me. It's saying that my connection is slow and all these other things. And then when I go back to try to watch the live to make sure that it went through, it's saying like it wasn't able to record or whatever. It's not able to, appear, whatever the case. So I've decided to kind of go back to how I'm used to doing videos, which is kind of like recording them and then uploading them later. So I'm going to do that until I'm able to check on my connection. It is the 4th, by the way. Happy 4th of July, guys. So I'm sure I will not be able to reach anyone where concerning my internet connection. But in the meantime, what I will do is post, until I'm able to get this issue fixed. So, without further ado, let's get into this Diddy trial. So I'm a little confused because a lot of people, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about how people, especially people like not reporters, but people that were like random standbys, listening out for the trial. They're there in person and they're outside of the courtroom. Um, Even some of the people that are that were very closely connected to Kim Porter. Some of those people are celebrating the fact that Diddy was found guilty on only 2 of the 5 charges, and I'm really confused as to why this is even a reaction, um, why they're celebrating, because at the end of the day, like, he still was found guilty for 2 of those 5 charges. Not only that, but even the charges he wasn't found guilty of, there's proof that he had a part to play in these things. So it brings me to my next point. Some people are saying, well, we don't really care, if he's guilty of these things or not. The fact that he's a black man and he's a mogul in society and he's a guru, he should be given a pass because he's a black man and, he's been, very pertinent in hip hop and R&B throughout the years. So we should give him a pass. We should, not focus on, what these charges are or whatever the case. I don't believe he did it. So let's first start off with finding out if he is in fact guilty of these different charges or not. Okay. So, pendulum. Is Diddy guilty of count 1? That is a yes. Is Diddy guilty of count 2? That is a yes. Is Diddy guilty of count 3? That is a yes. Is Diddy guilty of count 4? That is a yes. Is Diddy guilty of the charges that weren't brought of him, like having, different weaponry in his residences with the the numbers scrubbed off of them. That's a yes. Is Diddy guilty of beating on Cassie? That's a yes. Is Diddy guilty of beating on um, Jane Doe? That's a yes. Is Diddy guilty of holding Capricorn Clark against her will at gunpoint? That is a yes. Is Diddy guilty of raping Cassie? That's a yes. Is Diddy guilty of um, coercion where they're concerned into prostitution activities? That's a yes. Is Diddy guilty of um, paying male prostitutes to come and sleep with the women? Is he guilty of partaking in the activities as well sexually? That's a yes. And the last question was a yes as well. Um, is Diddy guilty of um, coming after Kid Cudi? That's a yes. Is Diddy guilty of having his car blown up? That's a yes. Did Diddy do it himself? No, of course not. Did Diddy have someone to do this for him? Yes. Um, is Diddy guilty of um, having Tupac killed? That's a yes. Is Diddy guilty of having Biggie Smalls killed? Murdered? That's a yes. Did he have um, uh, Mogul Shakir murdered as well? That's a yes. Did he murder Heavy D? That's a yes. Did he come after Craig Mack and have him murdered as well? That's a yes. Did he also murder Kim Porter? That's a very strong yes. Okay, so those are just a few of the questions that I have. To me, it doesn't matter that he's a black man. It wouldn't have mattered if he was white, purple, green, or yellow. If you are guilty of said crimes, then you are guilty and you are not a good person. And it doesn't matter to me what the color of your skin is. Either you're guilty or you're not. And if you are, then it's punishable by law and you will answer for it in the spirit realm on your judgment day. If you're not guilty, then you should you should go free. You should get compensation for being dragged into court and into the system and put into the prison system, unlawfully and unjustly. You should get compensation for that. But he is guilty of all these things, and so I don't care that he's a black man. None of that matters to me. Nobody gets a pass at being wrong as two left shoes just because of the color that they are, just because of the color of their skin. Nobody gets a pass in that. God doesn't even give that sort of pass just because someone's black. So why should I? Why should any of us? I don't know why we do that, but it's wrong. At the end of the day, he is very much guilty. He is very much guilty of all he's been accused of. And he's guilty of the things that were not brought up in trial. What about that? Why is it so quiet on those issues? Like, I've been keeping up with the trial via watching people like Gene Dill, Kim Pyre, Tisa Tells, and one of my faves, Chronicle Speaks, where she's just straight down the middle. She just gives the facts. She tells what's going on in court verbatim, like what's happening day in and day out throughout this whole trial. I'm so thankful for being able to be kept abreast by these different people giving, these updates and reports on this matter, because without them, like, we wouldn't be able to know until after the fact. So thankful for these different people. But I heard that, and I'm not really sure how true this is, but I happened to run by this podcast, and I forget the gentleman's name, but he said that Tisa Tells, who has actually been there consistently at the trial since the beginning of it, he said that people are accusing her of being one-sided, hating black men, different things of that nature. And I really can't speak for her, but what I can say, because I actually watched some of her content, he said that this guy approached her while she was, live, and he started, becoming very verbally aggressive towards her and, threatening towards her, in which she got back with him. She called him a broken, whatever the case may be. And then she ended up having to call the police. Why is it getting to that extent? Why must it go to that extent? First of all, none of these things have anything to do with us personally, except the ones that it does have to do with. So why are regular civilians getting upset about these different things and fighting with each other over this? You know what you should do? You should go find a reader, either myself or someone like myself that can easily pull cards on the situation and find out the answers for you, because energy doesn't lie. And the truth is in divination. Even though this is for entertainment, and allegedly all of this that I'm saying is the truth, the proof is in the pudding. Like, how else can you prove it? Except through divining through God, which is a God's gift that some of us, quite a few of us, have. So if you really want to know the truth, go and see a reader. Because we're not just talking about the situations, we're divining on the situations. We're bringing the truth front and center. Does that mean anything to anyone? Maybe, maybe not. But energy doesn't lie. So first, I'd like to find out, was that true? Was Tisa Tells attacked outside of the courtroom? Because this is getting out of hand. That's crazy. Wow. She was attacked verbally. She was like verbally assaulted. That's crazy. Like, because of this case, why don't we all get attacked then? Like, don't we have a right to an opinion? And don't people have a right to want to know the truth of the matter and talk about the truth of the matter? Everyone's talking on this. So why are people being attacked? Why are people fighting over this? I don't understand. This is insane. This is crazy. Like, she has a right to her opinion and stating the facts of what's going on in court, just like the next person, just like me, just like you. Like, what is the problem? He's guilty. I don't care that he was only found guilty on just 2 charges. He's wrong as 2 left shoes. And there's just no doubts about that. And I think that there's more up ahead for him. Because even while he was in jail and while he was on trial with this, people were still coming out with lawsuits against him. So you think that this is the end of this? This is just the beginning. You haven't seen anything yet. So I guess my next question is, was this purposeful that the prosecution brought charges against Diddy on this subject matter for RICO instead of like things that he was visibly guilty of, like getting having weaponry, with the serial numbers scrubbed off? Was it purposeful that they only came after specific charges and not other ones that he would have easily been found guilty on? So this was purposeful. So whose design was this? Law enforcement's? Okay. Do they have bigger plans for him in the near future? That's a yes. Did Diddy take a plea deal? Did Diddy give anyone higher up from him up? Oh, now that's serious. Is this the reason why he may be let out early? No. Did he tell on some of the other celebrities that were at the parties with him? Yes. Did he tell on people like Jay-Z, perhaps? Oh, that's a yes. Did he report on his mentor, Clive Davis? Oh, he didn't tell on Clive Davis. He know better than that. But if you're going to tell on Jay-Z, you might as well tell on Clive Davis. So, while I was doing the live, I asked the question, what are the bigger things that are in store here? What are the bigger plans coming up? What is to come into fruition for Diddy? Being that he did not, he only got charged, or he's only found guilty on 2 of the accounts, 2 of the counts versus all 5. The first card that popped up was the Emperor in reverse. You know, the emperor is someone who's very stabilized, very much in control, with discipline of their kingdom and of everyone they're responsible of. The fact that he came out in reverse means that he's more of like a little boy, like Page energy. Um, that means that he was not responsible over the people that are closest to him, and he definitely was not acting responsibly all these years over his kingdom. The next card that popped out was the Devil, which speaks of someone who is in lower vibrations. Um, the the devil often symbolizes someone who is in kind of like a seduction of some sort, where they're constantly being seduced by the material world and flash and fame and fortune and you know, just staying, you know, in view, always looking a certain way in the public eye, but then behind the scenes, they're tyrants, they're, you know, terrorizers, which, you know, the evidence within the case showed forth and proved these different things. Like, it wasn't brought up, you know, him possibly getting booked on gun charges, but at the end of the day, he held someone at gunpoint and forced them to go with him to someone's house in which he had their car blown up, all to make someone come back with him that had left him and moved on from him. He wanted her to break up her new relationship and come back home with him. And so he did all this to make this happen, which is insanity. Because he is the emperor in reverse and in a devilish state of mind and being, he will never have he doesn't have the Ten of Cups at this time, and I don't believe he will ever have the Ten of Cups fully and completely ever again, if he had it once before. Which the Ten of Cups is basically emotional stability. It's basically having a network of people around you that are on the same vibrational wavelength, able to support you in your stability as you're able to support them. It's having a network. It's stability with the emotions, and even moving forward in partnership and business as well. So, yes, Ten of Cups is emotional fulfillment, happiness, and harmony, particularly within relationships and family life. It signifies a time of contentment where dreams are realized and a sense of wholeness is achieved, and he doesn't have that. The Five of Wands came up with the Lovers. He was constantly keeping his girlfriends, his lovers, in states of competition. If one didn't do what he wanted them to do, then he would fly off, you know, to another country or a city and state, you know, with the next lover. And if that one didn't act right, then he would distance himself from them and go on to the next lover, and so on and so forth. Like, all of these things prove that he is an emperor in reverse. And whereas if he had operated from the standpoint of an emperor on their dean, on their square, then he would have accumulated the Nine of Cups, which is wish fulfillment. But he won't get that in this lifetime. He thought that he had that. He actually got a taste of what that would be like. Because he became a multi-million and billionaire. But now he's in jail, locked up, guilty on 2 charges, and currently serving time in jail with his bail denied. He cannot get out. He's forced to sit there and serve whatever time they're going to give him. And so that's unfortunate for him, but very much fortunate for the people that he is victimized, and that maybe he planned to further victimize if he were able to get out on bail. What does the FBI have planned for Diddy in the near future? What does the FBI have planned for Diddy in the near future? And the few people that I mentioned that he had something to do with their death is way more bodies that are buried. Those are just the ones that were well known. Like, if you can remember, he bought a golden casket about a year before Cassie died. Not Cassie, I apologize. Before Kim Porter died. But she was murdered. Close friends to her say that she reportedly called them at some point and said she felt really sick after being out with Diddy. He knew that she was releasing a tell-all book on him, and he had threatened previously to take the twins from her. She moved out, she got her own place, she broke up with him, and she began to stabilize her own life, in which he didn't like that, because then that meant he couldn't have access and control over her like he was used to having. Wow. What does the FBI have planned where Diddy is concerned? Because I'm hearing more is to come. More is to come in the near future. We just don't know what it is just yet. Because it hasn't been shared, it hasn't been thoroughly mapped out, or talked about. Hold on, guys. Let me get these cards that... Okay, I'm back, guys. So, what popped out first is the Wheel of Fortune. The Justice. Whoa. 1 second, guys. Sorry, guys. Someone was calling me in the midst of me doing this recording, so I had to handle that real quick. So the next card that popped up was the Justice card. I'm sorry. The Justice card popped up before this, and then the Tower card. Then the Four of Swords. Then the Fool. Then the Page of Cups. Then the King of Wands. Then the Eight of Pentacles. Then the Magician. And on the bottom of the deck, the Eight of Swords. So they've got some things coming down the tailpipe for him. There's a reason why this just went a little too easy. People not really paying attention to that. There's other things that they found in his homes that was mentioned by some of the witnesses, but he wasn't really charged with those things. Why is that? Because it's coming down the tailpipe later. The wheel will not turn in his favor. Oh, but justice will prevail. Justice will prevail. He is having a major Tower moment right now because he thought that because he only got charged with 2 of the counts and he was acquitted on the others, he thought that he would be going home. But now he's in this Four of Swords energy, forced to be in a state of rest and just sit and think about all these things that have been transpiring over the course of this entire trial. And yeah, he's recuperating and he's in introspection mode. He's thinking about all of these things. He played himself. And in a not so good kind of way is he the fool. He thought that because he had beat these different things and got away with these different things over and over and over again, that he would continuously get away with these things. And at some point, accountability comes down the line. And you're not able to just continue, screwing people over and doing things business as usual. That's just not how life works. You get away with things for a period of time until you don't anymore. And that's how it works. It's just crazy because he was so happy when they announced that he only got guilty for the 2 counts as opposed to the 5 counts. He basically got down in prayer position, and like he was so thankful. Like, you ain't prayed to God all your life. Like, you definitely have been praying to your father, though, the devil, because you have acted as a major demon in this entire lifetime. And I'm not excusing whatever has happened to him to cultivate him into the demon that he is today. But what I'm saying is that doesn't totally excuse the demon that he has become today. It's just really crazy because he's open to, he was open to, being able to walk scot-free on these bail charges and get home and get out of jail and, get free, whatever the case may be. It ended up not going that way for him, because in the end, throughout the whole trial, his team, the defense team, they kept saying, yeah, he's violent. He's a very violent man. Yes, there's definitely a case of domestic violence and things of that nature. But he's not being tried for domestic violence. He's being tried for RICO charges. Yes, he can get very angry and irate and out of sorts. Yes, he can become very violent. His defense team said he's MFing Diddy Combs, Sean Combs. Like, he gets angry. This is his woman, that was going, with another man. He got angry. He's no coward. He got angry and, supposedly, had something to do with his car being, blown up. Well, that is against the law. So what you just admitted to is another crime that happened to be one of the counts that he was listed as not guilty on. You're basically saying he had motive and he had room to move towards that, but that he was justified because he was angry about his woman. How are you angry about your woman leaving you and getting involved in a new relationship, but you're not angry with her being forced to have sex with other men in front of you? You're not angry with telling her to take the stuff that they left on her or in her and rubbing it on yourself? Like, so you're like a whole weirdo, and you don't get to pick and choose when to blow up and be angry at something and when not to be, because clearly your reasoning, your thinking is totally off, clearly. Which also doesn't excuse the fact that you have committed various crimes. And like I said, even while he was going through this whole trial, there were people coming out with $1 million lawsuits against him. Like, it's really insane because some of these lawsuits included, a couple of his sons. There's the lawsuit that came out about Christian Combs. And then there's the lawsuit that came out before now about Justin Combs. What is all that about? There's people saying that he had father-son freak-offs. You want to get back home to your kids for what? From my understanding, you were a hell of a father, and in a not-so-good type of way. You had your children in the same debauchery and craziness that you were into. No wonder they're mixed up in the head. No wonder they haven't gone far in life. And then you have people that were really close with Kim Porter, her supposed friends, when she was here and alive. They're happy, they're excited, because Diddy only got charged with 2 charges. Whether he got charged with 2 or 10, he's still a criminal. He's still guilty of all these things. I just proved it in the reading. And they're sitting here and they're excited and they're happy. And they're saying, well, you know, the twins, they need their dad. You know, their mother's no longer here. Why isn't their mother here? What happened to their mom? Very simple. He had her murdered. He had her poisoned. And I heard someone on a podcast say that he had been poisoned a few times in the industry as well. And he said there's certain poisons that metabolize in your system, and they look as though you have pneumonia. Why did everybody die from pneumonia? Kim Porter, the coroner that stated there were unidentifiable things in her system that made it look like it wasn't accidental, but that it was very, very purposeful. Very, very purposefully placed into her system to eventually kill her. Why did Diddy buy a gold casket a year or so before Kim Porter was murdered? People asked him about this casket. They said, why do you have this? And he said, oh, it's a prop in a music video I'm about to do. And people just left that there. It raised no more eyebrows and nobody asked any more questions. But then a year later, when Kim Porter was murdered, this very same casket was her casket at her funeral. Doesn't that make anybody wonder about any of this? This is insane. The truth was right there in our eyes the whole time. Should he get out for the twins? To be honest, they're probably better off without him. Now, I'm sorry that they no longer have their mom around, because she seemed like a really beautiful woman who was also a victim of abuse at the hands of Diddy, who is their father. And I've seen domestic cases, and I've seen abusers get off. Just because someone is not convicted of a crime doesn't mean they're innocent. Doesn't mean that at all. Just means the system is rigged and more effed up than we could ever imagine. So people are in celebratory mode because he only got 2 of the 5 charges. He still is guilty of 2 of the 5 charges. And just because he wasn't made guilty for the other 3 doesn't mean he's completely innocent of them either. The reading just said he wasn't. So, the King of Wands popped up, And usually the King of Wands symbolizes someone who's passionate, someone who's filled with creativity and ideas. Um, they're a natural born leader. Um, is Scorpio a fire sign? No, Scorpio is a fixed water. Maybe he has some fire in his charts because this spread is talking about him. Kim Porter, and I don't know if this book that came out is actually her tell-all book or not, but she said that Diddy became obsessed with voodoo. He began learning how to do magic early on in their relationship. And so he tried to manifest this Eight of Pentacles. He had been getting away with manifesting everything else that he wanted. The murders of others, the endings of careers. This is why the Eight of Swords came up at the bottom of the deck. Because instead of continuously manifesting money flow and wealth, he's now sitting bound up. He's sabotaged himself. And that's the state that he's in at the end of all this. And it's not even over yet. It's literally just beginning. It's only at the beginning that he's starting to be made to take some sort of accountability for everything that he's done. But they've only just begun. He's only just begun to be pointed out to these different things that he's involved in. It's crazy. And so I don't understand the notion of, I want him to get off because he's a black man and he's a billionaire. And he's the first to make it as far as he did. Maybe he should have kind of considered that as he was making it far. Not doing some of these different crimes, but he was so used to getting away with them. Who was going to ever check him? Who was going to ever find out what he was doing until we found out what he was doing? Will Diddy be charged later for the feds finding all of the weaponry with the serial numbers scrubbed off? Will he receive charges later for that? Mm-hmm. Will he be found guilty for that? Mm-hmm. Did the prosecution intentionally bring lesser charges because the feds they plan to pursue him with the bigger charges themselves? Makes sense. Will he be found guilty on those charges? That's a yes. Wow. as these different uh, lawsuits and charges come out against Diddy and his sons and whoever else was involved in these different um, acts of debauchery and things of that nature, as these different things come about, what will happen to Diddy in his future? What will Diddy's future look like? What will become of him? Please show me, Spirit. What will become of Diddy in his future? Hmm. Mm. What will become of him in his future? What will become of Diddy in his future? Mm. No. Okay. Any other messages, Spirit? Any other messages concerning what will become of Diddy in his near future? Whoa. Any other ones? Whoa. Okay. Any others? Whoa. Okay. Any others, Spirit? Any other messages? Concerning Diddy's future? Hmm. Wow. Hmm. Okay. Thank you, Spirit. Hmm. Hmm. So the first card that popped out is the Six of Pentacles. The next card, the Nine of Pentacles. The next card, the Hanged Man. The next card, the Moon. The next card, the Page of Wands. The next card, Death. The next card, the Six of Cups. The next card, the Devil. The next card, Temperance. And lastly, the Ten of Swords. So, none of these things, these crimes, he's a first-time offender, so the law takes it easy on first-time offenders, even though he's been committing crimes for years now. The FBI have their eyes on him, and he won't be getting away with these different things. It's almost like they allowed this case to come up, this trial to come up, concerning these different things that he was accused of this go round, because they've got more cases coming up against him in the near future. That's what I'm hearing, and that's why some things weren't mentioned, you know, in this case, because there are other things that will be coming up for him that he will have to answer for. He had nostalgic thoughts over, you know, his money flow and pretending to help others out with his position in this world, with being a figure who seemed as though they had ultimate wealth. Instead of using that wealth for the betterment of himself and others, he hanged himself with his wealth. He did not use it for the betterment of himself and others. So he is now sitting confused, not really knowing what to think or how to feel or act, because he's in a state of disappointment. He expected to be let free. And the judge said, nope, no bail. No bail. Because your team said you're an abuser. You are a violent man. And so what's to stop you from doing any of these things again? So no, you cannot go free. He was thinking that he would have a shot at new beginnings. But everything has been halted for him at this time. The Death card. Literally everything that he thought was coming into fruition has stopped where he's concerned. He was thinking that he was gonna be in this Six of Cups energy once he got out of jail. And that just didn't happen for him. You know, he was in a nostalgic state where, like I said before, because I kept feeling like he was in a state of nostalgia, you know, constantly thinking on, you know, that's my eyeliner, constantly thinking on, you know, what was beforehand. Constantly thinking on maybe his childhood, and also returning back to his old ways, returning back home, maybe even terrorizing some of the people who, ended up, testifying against him. He thought he'd have a chance to, maybe get back with Cassie and, terrorize her some more, and terrorize maybe Jane Doe, maybe Capricorn Clark, maybe some of the others, who knows. But the judge was like, nope, bail denied. Because she said he was violent, right? Why would I let someone like that free? Eventually, he's going to serve his time and get free, but it won't be today. So, that's not hate of a black man. That's hate of all the negativities and the ugliness that he brought from his own actions and those who helped him. In the end, there will be balance, temperance, but the balance brought to everything will lead to ultimate betrayal, the Ten of Swords, for him. So it will definitely bring balance, but for him, it will bring ultimate betrayal. Maybe more people will come forth. Maybe those in higher position will consider giving him up to save themselves. Clive Davis is very quiet these days. I wonder why. I have a question concerning them. First off, is Ray J and Diddy actually lovers? So Suge Knight was correct in this assessment. So they were lovers. Was Ray J hired on to have Whitney Houston killed? Because all of these things connect. So he did murder her. Did he murder her with his own hands himself? So he made sure that someone else did this to her. Right before her death, was he the one who delivered the blows to her face? So he physically fought with her before she was drowned? Was he the one that drowned her? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And why are you sitting here talking about, and people keep, it hurts. It's crazy because people keep bringing these things up, but, don't say anything to them. It's kind of weird that it keeps coming up, but, I don't let it bother me anymore. Why did you feel the need to even say anything about it? Because you're guilty? Unbelievable. Was Ray J, in fact, Whitney Houston's lover before she died? Okay, so they weren't lovers, but he was her supplier, correct? They allowed people to think that he was her lover to cover up the fact that he was her supplier, correct? Makes a lot of sense. Wow. So who hired Ray J on for this hit? Was it Diddy? Was it Clive Davis involved? Was it any others that were involved in putting Ray J up to murdering Whitney Houston? It was others involved. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Wow. So how did Ray J find out? Because Jaguar's Wright said in one of her interviews that Whitney Houston gave a note to Brandy. And I used to be a very huge fan of Brandy and her music. But I've been noticing some things lately that make me question some things. Did Brandy, in fact, tell Ray J what was in that note that Whitney Houston gave to her? Wow. Did she know that it would cause Whitney Houston's demise? Wow. Is this the Boy Is Mine tour to distract from this Diddy situation? Wow. Okay. I'll do more on these other subjects another time. But I do have one last question. Is Diddy responsible for Bryce Shear Gray's downfall? That's a yes. So Jaguar Wright was right. Did Diddy, in fact, have people paid to get into the jail system and repetitively grape Bryce Shear Gray? Was there others involved in high positions that orchestrated this along with Diddy and had this done? Was one of those people Will Smith? I'll be doing a full reading on this at a later time. For those that were involved in this boy's downfall, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And I'm going to make sure that you're exposed. You will not be able to walk around pretending to be something that you're really not. You will be exposed if I can help it. And I can help it. So, that's enough for today. Leave your questions and your comments down below. I look forward to getting into more readings like this. There's lots of other topics that I'm intrigued by, and I can't wait to get into. Definitely leave your royal requests down below, and then email me at MadinahQueenOfSpades@gmail.com your questions. We will definitely get into some of these other subject matters more in depth at a later time, because I've got some questions concerning Ray J and Princess Love as well. And many other subject matters that have been kept quiet and pushed, into silence and to the back of everyone's mind. People have just kind of forgotten about it, but I haven't. And we will take a deeper look and take a deep dive into some of these different subject matters to see what's really going on. Because there's much more than meets the eye. So I look forward to getting into these other subject matters very, very soon, within the next couple of days. So stay tuned. I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Leave your comments down below and any royal requests or suggestions down below. Definitely like, definitely subscribe. If you like my vibe, then come on and be a part of my tribe. Bars. I love you guys, and we will definitely talk more later. My eyebrow is all smudged up, but we'll definitely talk more later. And you guys have a great rest of your 4th of July. Definitely watch out for me because I will be coming on more this weekend for sure. Peace and blessed be. Peace and many bright blessings.